That's enough of that. Welcome back to our Mountains Made of Glass last podcast. It's upside down, but that's okay. You get it. The final parts of this book.
We've reached the end.
The end. We are gonna wrap her up today. So since I didn't do discussion questions this week, bad me. Oops. We're gonna just jump right into our recap, if that works for you, Dana.
Definitely. So we have quite a few chapters we're going to run through, but they all end up going pretty quickly. We start off in what I would like to say an homage to Beauty and the Beast ballroom scene, except we go pretty sour pretty fast when somebody might be asked to serve somebody else naked. However, we do receive 2 new letters in this chapter. As we skip on to chapter 17, we are very much getting those hot and cold vibes. However, we do end up going towards the prince and accepting our true feelings for him. And when I say the prince, I do mean Casimir. Don't get it twisted.
Not Prince Charming.
But not Prince Charming. But as we go towards Casimir, we learn more about Gisella's sister, and we get another letter. In 18, we visit the willow where her sister's body lays in the ground and learn a bit more about why it is she's down there and what hopefully is to come. 19, our tables turn a little bit, and instead of Casimir giving Gisella a letter, she gives him a letter of her own name. Mm-hmm. And then Casimir visits the prince, because why wouldn't we? And asks him an all-important question of, what is love? Baby, don't hurt me.
Good time to be asking that.
Good time to be asking that. As well as asking the prince what his truest desire is, and promising that it's not a trick. We then return to the mirror, who says, maybe you should finally take her on that picnic I suggested. And guess what? In chapter 20, we have the picnic!
Woo-hoo!
But not only do we have our picnic where we really connect and we see those bonds being formed and flourished, Casimir can't recall any more letters of his name, and maybe he miscounted how many days he had left? Uh-oh. Chapter 21, Homegirl finally figures out his name. But before she can say it, the prince, and unfortunately not Casimir this time, Prince Charming has escaped.
I told y'all.
Oh. And there might be a knife held to somebody's throat in the not fun way. Clarification. And then chapter 22 is our happily ever after that may or may not include a genocide of a small town. But more on that.
I was going to say sad, but maybe I'm not sad.
I'm not. They deserved it.
So we're hopping right off the back of what had just happened. They had all of the fun in the woods together, and she regretted it. And we're right off the back of that, basically.
Yep, we're coming hot and heavy off of the mirror telling Gisella the riddle, and the hot and coldness of it all. I regret this, but do I actually regret it?
Right.
Or am I just saying I regret it because I'm embarrassed?
And of course, Casimir does the most logical thing possible. He forces her to be around him and calls her to dinner.
Again, he went to Tamlin Singing School.
He says, you know what the best thing right now is when she maybe regrets sleeping with me? Let's force her to eat dinner with me.
But not only let's force her to eat dinner with me, let's force her to eat dinner with me, and then as she sits here and basically begs for me,
Let's bargain.
not give into it. Let's poke the bear.
Mm-hmm.
Poke the bear. We get our favorite lines of her just screaming "fuck you," and he promises her 2 letters if she serves him dinner naked.
I mean, who wouldn't?
I mean, at this point,
She needs to play catch up.
she really does. She is running out of time.
At this point, she has what, 2 days left?
Something like that, man. The days are trickling down. Nobody knows left from right anymore.
My favorite part about this was you notice when he asks her, I have a quote like, what do you call it? Underlined. He asks her to serve him naked.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, fuck you, right? To that. He says, or she says, a letter, and you will serve me dinner naked. And then she pushes away from the table, fuck you. So I wrote in here, she wants him more than her freedom at this point.
Oh, 100%.
Because she's mad at him and declining letters, basically.
She doesn't want the letters. She's mad at him, but in a sense, I think she's also mad at herself. He's just rubbing salt in the wounds. And it doesn't help that we finally get a good snarky comeback to the fuck you being, I'd rather not talk about fucking. And like, I'm sorry, sir, you've been horny this entire book.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And they go back and forth like that. But I thought it was like this is kind of like almost like the turning point where it's like she cares less about her mission right now than she does about just him showing her like proper affection. That's all she's really looking for is proper affection and him to be respectful. And he gives her the exact opposite.
And it's one of those things where neither of them really know what love is.
Mm-mm.
And they don't know how to show it. So they're navigating this new territory on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously not listening to each other. There's a severe lack of read the room on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
But you know.
And now we have AUIS.
AUIS.
In my book.
Yep.
And then she begs him. I love it.
There's several times where we hear, you asked for this, words are binding, vicious creature, or have you learned nothing living in its shadow? And this all goes back to those, she made that deal of, I pleasure you, you give me a letter. Mm-hmm. Words are binding, even if she didn't mean it in the long run, even if she wants to take it back. That was the one time she was careless.
And now she gets it. Like, I don't think she would be mad again if he gave her letters because of that, right? Like, she gets it now. She understands she made a mistake. And now this is the first time she's saying to him, like, yes, I want this. I know I want this. And I know it's not, like, magic making me want this. Mm-hmm. And she's going to admit it.
And she does admit it, kind of as we bridge from 16 into 17, she admits it. Because where does she end up? In his bedroom. In his bed.
I love the path, though, that she takes because she is so mad at him. Mm-hmm. Okay? For not really participating, or I can't remember if she gets, I believe she gets to the end, yeah? Let's see. Oh, she asks for him, and he doesn't want to give it to her completely, okay? So she's mad.
So I begged.
Yeah, she's mad because he denies her and says that I don't want you to regret it.
He throws back at her what she said to him.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we say things in the heat of the moment all the time. We don't expect to be held accountable for our words when we're mad. Mm-hmm. Here are the consequences to my actions.
Mm-hmm. And so she gets all pissed, runs away, but then she stews for a little while. And I love the fact that she grabs her axe.
Axe,
thorns and all. She's literally
her safety net.
Yeah. She's
Most people have like a blankie, a stuffed animal. No, Gisela has an axe.
yes. This is her emotional support axe. And she literally has it in her hands, even though it has thorns in it and her hands are bleeding. And this is that epitome of like, I hate you so much, but I still want to fuck you.
And it's not even, I think it's a mix of I should hate you, but I love you. Have we entered Stockholm Syndrome? Is this true love? I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
However, I hate you so much that I love you, or I love you so much that I hate you.
And
Because
he literally wakes up with her straddling him like this with the axe. Like she's about to literally bring the axe down on him, and he's like, do it.
I have a feeling I'm going to end up with a screenshot of this again. This is like your favorite moment.
Literally, yep. Uh-huh. That's exactly what's gonna happen.
I can
Um,
see it now.
and that is like the biggest turning point of the entire story is that she throws down the axe
And
and she just gives in.
but yes, the axe is her emotional support. It's her walls.
Hmm.
It's her like this axe in essence is representing everything she was. It is her past. She's throwing it to the ground. She's saying, "Fuck this.
Hmm.
I am now here with you. This is now where I am."
And I
She's
believe
letting
he
go of
even
it.
I believe he even dissolves the thorns on the axe at that point. Or maybe afterwards.
Possibly.
He does dissolve the thorns in the axe. And I think that that's kind of a sign of like both of them giving in a little bit.
They're both good, but can we also just give him props where he's looking at her? She's sitting there, axe above her head, ready to throw him down, and he just goes, first of all, you're wounded. You're hurt. Second of all, if you're gonna do it, at least aim for my head.
Hmm.
Like, he is so unserious.
And it says, if you cut off, she says, which head do I cut off? And he says, if you cut off the one between your thighs, you will likely not get what you came for.
Which, like, he knew. He
Uh-huh.
knows.
Uh-huh. She said, and then she said, I know, quietly. And that's when she literally just gives up.
Yeah. And then, we have our fun.
And we have lots of fun. The bangity bang 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 happens for uh 3 pages,
It's, it's fun.
4 pages.
One moment, please.
Oh, more.
Oh, we're still going.
5 pages. Which is another thing that I really like about Scarlett St Clair.
We have our depth.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But then, because nothing says after sex talk like talking about your dead family members. Because
Yeah.
he
This is where
immediately asks her, what happened to your family?
I highlighted like a whole thing about what happened to her, what she says happened to her sister. So she says, I wish she were dead, and she transformed. This is more information we've ever gotten. All we've known is that she wished for her to be dead. I wished for that she were dead, and she transformed into a deer right before my eyes and raced into the forest. I searched for her in the forest for years, and on the final day of the 7th year, I found her resting beneath a tree. But when I started to go to her, an arrow flew from the trees and hit her. I will never forget how her eyes widened and how she fell. She became human again. There was so much blood, I could not stop it, so I just held her, told her how sorry I was, how much I wished I could undo what I had done. Then, as if the forest had not punished us enough, I noticed something slithering and saw the roots were shifting beneath us, wrapping around my sister, and I screamed and clawed at the wood, but the tree took her.
And I haven't wished for anything since. A, we finally figured out what happened to her sister.
Mm-hmm.
It's about time.
Mm-hmm.
B, hi, you made a wish and she immediately turned into a deer?
Right. And why
And
did
is
that
it...
name?
And I can possibly get the deer because thinking at this time, deer or something that are like easily hunted, it's synonymous with hunting. Okay, maybe because somebody would easily mistake it.
Mm-hmm.
But if she were truly cursed to die because of this wish, why would the trees save her? In theory. We're going to get there in 2 seconds, but why would the trees save her?
Mm-hmm. And like, okay, the whole it's like it can't be coincidence that she found her on the final day of the seventh year.
7.
Yeah. The final
7.
day of the seventh year. And then all of a sudden, a random arrow flies out of the forest and kills her.
It just,
What?
the number 7, man, it keeps coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I
then
just
we,
have a hard time believing that the world is literally just this like unlucky and chaotic.
there's more going on.
Yeah.
And something I've been thinking about a lot more as I kind of have gone through, re-listened to what our recordings, have read people's theories.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know the order of these brothers? Like, do we know who's the oldest and who comes next?
No, I believe the only thing we know is that he is the seventh brother.
So he is officially the 7th, therefore the youngest.
I believe so.
So was this being the 7th year a ploy all along to just be like, hey, look for the number 7. The number 7 will lead you in the right.
Right. Well, and then I thought also it was interesting. So obviously he says that your sister's not dead, right? And the tree is healing her. But he says, if the tree took her, as you said, then she is healing. It is not quick. She could be within the roots for years, 100 even. But it's likely that her heart still beats. So, like, it's just convenient that, like, could be any amount of time.
Could be any amount of time.
She's just basically like an easy bake oven cooking, and, like, we're just waiting on that light bulb to cook her.
Oh my god, not the light bulb.
And it's gonna take years.
I mean, honestly, it could.
And I don't know how long it's been since her sister died.
If she emerges on the 7th year, I'm done. I'm quitting.
Well, I wonder if it's like, okay, so I wonder if it's the seventh brother, if that's why it's all like the seventh year, the seven, 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 you know? Versus, I wonder if like the fourth brother, it'll be like four
Fours.
times. And then that's why I wonder if maybe, remember when there was like the 6 versus 7?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if maybe the sixth brother sentenced her.
Oh.
So then he sentenced her to 6 because they only can like they will only play with like their like number, and that's why Casimir changed it to 7.
I feel like that'd be really stressful for the first brother because he has just one for everything.
Uh-huh. But I was like, that's the only thing I can think of as to why they had it be she was sentenced to 6 years and then Casimir changed it to 7.
And that could make sense. They can only work in there as long as they're separated or as long as the mirror is apart. Like
Right.
this is your
Like their
attributing factor.
numbers. Yeah. It's their numbers that they work with, basically. I don't know. But I thought that like I thought it was crazy. But you would think, well, I guess the 7 part of this is she looked for her for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if her healing from the tree will end up being the amount of years of whatever Prince is probably for her.
And again, we don't know that I believe how long she's been under there for. I don't remember if it says it in the next chapter or not. But you tell the girl her sister's still alive, and what's she going to do? Literally immediately go. Even if it's dark and it's dangerous. And the red caps are out after her.
And remember that we theorized that this is Sleeping Beauty.
Yes, that her sister is Sleeping Beauty, which I read through the author's note before we started. Finally figured out her sister's name. Never knew it this entire book until I read the author's note. I guess I never picked up on that detail.
Mm-hmm.
You know, names in these books, man.
That's the thing. I like don't even now reading like our next book club book. I didn't even look for names.
I was on the hunt for names.
Opposite.
I'm sitting there going, all right, when are we going to figure out somebody else's name?
Uh-huh.
When's
Yep.
this coming up?
Yep.
But yeah, so he convinces her to wait until it's morning.
And he
But
gives her another
as,
letter.
huh?
He gives her another letter.
He does. He gives her another letter. We get the letter N.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you start to, I remember being very confused at this point and thinking none of these letters, like, I give up. I'm trying to figure out what this is. What this means.
I was determined.
I give up.
I was determined and nothing was making sense.
And then he asks if she basically wants to be free, and she said, "I want the choice to stay or to go."
Yeah. Which it wasn't this chapter. I do have something highlighted in regards to that, but it's not this chapter. But
although also he promises to take her to her sister, which the fact that he promises anything to her is like a monumental thing for her every time he does it.
and he's also constantly promising her. Like
Mm-hmm.
he has no issue in promising her. Maybe we should have started there with our flirting skills.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I promise you'll be safe. I promise to take care of you. I
But
promise.
also, I don't know if she would have been as open to it. Like, if he had immediately been like, hey, your sister's alive, I don't think she would have been as open to him. I don't think she would have believed him.
Yeah, she probably wouldn't have. She probably wouldn't have told him the story of her sister's death in the first place.
No, we definitely wouldn't have gotten as much as we did, which is why, like, it came, her giving this information up, literally laying her axe down. She's now vulnerable. She's saying, hey, have at it.
Mm-hmm.
If you go down, I guess I'm going down with you.
Mm-hmm. And then he wakes her up and says, "It's time to go. I promise."
To the willow.
Uh-huh. Which, what does a willow mean? We looked this up.
We did this up. Willows are, I want to say they're synonymous with like the
Willow, tree, meaning. A symbol of fertility and new life.
yes.
Willow branch can be planted in the ground, and from it, a new tree will grow in its place. Its ability to grow and survive is powerfully symbolic, and shows how we can thrive even in challenging conditions.
It, in media or in literature, it also often symbolizes love, loss, wisdom, and power.
There you go. It's perfect then.
Which, isn't there also like a prince that's a king of willows or something like that? William.
Which, by the way, get this picture in the book. Why is she in the middle of the tree?
That's so, it's literally the creepiest thing.
Right? She's supposed to be like swallowed up in the roots, not like.
Literally pictured her under, and that, yes, now willow trees, okay, this is me getting my trees mixed up in my head. I was immediately thinking of a mangrove tree, which has its roots come out of the ground.
Yeah.
Not a willow.
No. Willows are the ones with that you
the
can
long
hide
hanging.
Mm-hmm.
But she goes to the willow and she feels her sister's heartbeat.
Yeah, well, the other funny, interesting thing is that he makes a deal with the horse to take him there versus.
Balthazar.
Yeah, and he says that he likes. What does he say? He says that he. She says, "You do not keep animals, but you keep humans." And he says, "Animals are pure of heart. Animals are not, or humans are not."
I mean, true.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard something true?
Oh, that was the other thing. Okay, so they're talking about the mirror seeing everything that happened the night before.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Oh, the mirror, don't worry. The mirror says, I'm used to the prince's lovemaking." And she's like, excuse me? Like, basically, how many people you have up here? And he says,
Oh
I
no,
have not
you
made love to
froze.
anyone but you. But then he says, she says, would he not know the difference between you self-pleasuring and with others or whatever? And so then he says, well, he is only a mirror.
I'm not gonna lie, I missed half of what you said because everything glitched out on my
It's okay.
end.
I'll say it again. So she says, wouldn't the mirror know the difference between you self-pleasuring and having a woman with you? And he
Mm-hmm.
says, well, he is only a mirror, which again is like, why do we keep discounting this mirror? I feel like he's more powerful than anyone's letting on.
Justice for the mirror.
Seriously.
I wonder if it's one of those things where we see with
I don't
Casimir
know.
that the mirror is not prophetic. It's what is the word? It said it in the book. He can't tell the future,
Yeah,
but he's
he's
able to
not
discern
a,
the truth.
yeah, it's
Something in
super
those regards.
interesting.
But I wonder if each piece of a mirror, each fragment, has a different power, has something that it's keen to.
Oh, that would be
Because why
cool.
else would you break this mirror, other than to give a piece to each of your sons? Why would you break this mirror into 7 pieces?
Hmm.
Um, so I feel like each prince that we see with their mirror, it's going to be able to do something different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's not until it's fully whole. Because again, why else would uniting that mirror
Make a
give
king.
them the ability to make a king?
Right.
Unless the mirror is more powerful than what its smaller counterparts are leaning on.
And do you think the princes know?
I don't.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And that's why the mirror is getting discounted. And
And
it's
he's
getting kind of,
so
it's
like
whatever.
he's so facetious sometimes when he's talking too.
Yeah.
Where he's kind of like he knows, but he's not going to tell you.
And I think the mirror obviously is aware of this.
Hmm.
And I wonder if part of putting the mirror back together is because it will be the one that goes, no, this is our king.
Hmm.
Even if all the brothers at the end come together and there's some kind of unity there, which I don't
Hmm.
see happening.
Hmm.
But
No.
theoretically, if somehow everyone decides that we can all get along and be best friends, that the mirror will be like, well, this is actually one that overcame the most and listened to me.
Weirdly enough, I don't really know who's gonna be king because I feel like she's gonna make us fall in love with all of the brothers, and then it's gonna be like, who's the king? Anyway,
Who gets it?
now I'm ready. Now I'm ready for the sister. We also find out her name is Winter, so that's interesting.
Yeah. It's a very interesting choice in a name.
Mm-hmm. What are the?
Very.
Hold on, I'm going back to the brothers. What are their names? Hold on. Okay, Casimir, Lore, Silas, Arrow, Talon, Cardic, and Septus. None of those go with Winter,
No,
but their
but
team name.
it's very interesting that winter is her name because winter in literature is typically the end of life.
Uh-huh.
It represents death, it represents kind of the end of a certain stage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's clearly what the character has gone through. She's gone through this death of maybe her mortality. Maybe when she comes back, she's going to be slightly more elven, slightly more immortal,
So maybe
and
the
embracing
kingdom
that
of
part of her.
Nightshade, because isn't Nightshade like poison? Oh, we're frozen again.
Who is this?
There we go.
I hope I don't have a storm
Nightshade.
coming my way.
I think Nightshade is like poison, right?
Who is the king for night, or the lord of
Lore.
Nightshade? Prince?
Lore.
Huh?
Lore.
No, I think Lore's in next book.
Okay. Hmm.
I want to say Lore's the prince that we focus on for Apples Dipped in Gold.
Yeah.
So we can knock that one off the list.
It's not that one then. Oh, also, he says finally she's happy about her Fey heritage because the willow does not heal mortals.
The will does not heal Mars. Wait. Okay, I'm going back to the prince thing. Her prince is the dead prince. She is winter, which is death. It's the dead prince.
The frog. We were
The
thinking about that.
frog.
Yeah, we were thinking that. And it's also like interesting because we talked about how he's buried kind of like right on one side of the forest, so we weren't sure if he would reincarnate unless the forest is like growing. And she says in the beginning that the forest keeps pushing its boundaries. So it's like almost like they're both in like a time clock. Like a what do you call it? Like what's like the Disney Vault where they're like up for like a certain amount of time.
Locked away.
Oh my goodness, I'm frozen again. Here we are. But that's what it seems like to me is that maybe like they're both locked in like the Disney Vault and then they'll come both together at the same time.
Which could be, that'd be so exciting. Maybe we see just like an underworld-esque.
Uh-huh.
I mean, she is known for.
Uh-huh.
Alright, enough on
Yes,
her
yes.
theorizing.
And then it says, uh, like she cannot rise alone. He goes, she will not be alone. The Fae will help her. By then, she will be fully one of them, one of us. So she will emerge as like something new, something different.
She's not gonna be this mortal self anymore. And I mean, we even see that help happen with Gisela towards the end of this, is that she sheds basically her mortality
Mm-hmm.
in a way.
Mm-hmm.
In a way.
Well, and I'm curious about that. Is she still immortal? Like, is she gonna age at a different pace as him? And what do they describe as normal? Because it kind of, or mortal, because it kind of seems like Casimir's mortal too. He just goes through multiple lives.
And I think maybe it's that it more connects with her accepting her heritage, and it's not a fully full blood versus half blood moment. It's as long as you have this within you,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of
Mm-hmm.
get roped into it, for
Mhm.
lack of better words. Thinking more of like a lesser as opposed to a high fae, elf,
Yeah.
whatever, all of the above.
He also promises something
Very
for the
different.
next page, and I don't really understand it. Oh, she promises for the first time. That's why I highlighted it. She said, I love you. I'll come for you. I promise. Which it's kind of like Gisela like would never promise anything.
Yeah, but she's promising it to her sister.
Mm-hmm.
And she's promising her sister, I will be here for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be, yes, she never promises anything, but she's still harboring this guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think giving her this promise is kind of letting go of a bit of it. But then, out of all of this, does it happen? No, it happens in the next chapter. But still, out of all of this, she looks at him, Casimir, and she goes, G.
Uh-huh.
And he looks at her and goes, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm a G. He gives her, yeah, she gives him a letter of her name.
Because,
Because that was the first time in the book that I realized that he didn't know her name.
and it, yeah, this is the moment where like, wait, he's literally calling her creature because he doesn't know what to call her.
I was like, oh yeah, he doesn't know her name. I'm like, what? Even though I'm pretty sure it says it somewhere in the book, but I only noticed that during my reread.
I have never seen her mention her name while at his palace.
Right. It says something, she says something in her, like she's monologuing in her brain, and it says like he doesn't even know my name or something like that, or
Yeah.
I have not yet told him mine. And I was like, oh yeah, I got caught that during the reread, but I didn't catch it the first time around.
And is it she's not telling him her name because she just doesn't want him to know? Because at this point, we're still a prisoner in our minds. Or
Well, they keep
is it
telling
just
her that
because he
names
never
have vowels.
asked?
From what I feel like I have like an intuition where they kept telling her that names have power, and so she was almost like withholding hers because she knew that they were saying names have power.
Yeah, withhold it, keep that power to yourself. But also, he never asked.
Correct.
We're trying to fall in love, but you have yet to ask her name.
Just call her creature.
Vicious creature.
Yeah. Sweet creature. Anything. A siren. Call her that too, Whatever.
Just, you're whatever I want to call you today.
Mm-hmm. Which very much goes to show that he really didn't think he was gonna have to love her back for her to love him. He was literally looking to just have this be a one-sided situation where she loves him.
A one-way transaction, and that did not happen.
Because he says at the beginning of the next chapter, "Could you love me?" And then she says, "G."
Well, in his thoughts, could you love me? And immediately followed by, that's such a fucking stupid question. Oh my god. I'm such an idiot.
Uh-huh.
You can feel
Which
like
her saying G is kind of like a sign that like she does love him, right?
it
But then
is.
he finds himself, of course, in the stupid prince's cell immediately.
She goes off to lollygag and meander about, and he walks into the prince's cell.
What is
And
love?
immediately, no hi, no hello, no, your advice sucks. Just immediate, what is love?
Which just makes me think of the song. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Which
Which
is
also
exactly where he's at right now. He's exactly there. Baby, don't hurt me.
so accurate.
Oh my gosh. And it's funny because the prince is so not prepared to answer this question.
No, taken completely out off guard. Like, what are you talking about? And just Casimir goes, love. Like, what is it? What does it feel like?
He
Tell
says,
me, I don't know.
good is what he says. Good.
It's a feeling. It feels nice.
Yeah.
Nice. But I also picture him like, nice? Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Well, um,
But then
I
we
went
learn
through,
about the prince's greatest desires.
yes, and we didn't know this before, right? What he needed.
No, we didn't know. Basically, this gives us the prince's backstory and more or less how we kind of ended up where we are right now.
Can I ask you a question from the Golden Apple? Does that have anything to do with this prince? For the next book?
I don't believe so. Not as far as I've kind of actually, possibly.
Because I
I'm
was
not
thinking that was
sure.
maybe like a foreshadowing for the next book, and maybe the prince is in it somehow, or like was a previous like background character.
So, from what I've read in like that first chapter, we didn't see much of this prince or even the Elven prince. We just really saw our new FMC, Samara.
Where is she in like Fairyland, or is she in like or the Enchanted
She's in
Forest?
another like little kingdom,
So a kingdom though.
which yeah, a different kingdom, and I'm not even sure if it is the same kingdom of where his princess is.
Okay.
I have the like little bio pulled up for Apple Made of Glass, and there is a line that says, "But just when she thinks she cannot take another day of their abuse, a handsome prince offers for her hand in marriage." However, I do not think it's related because she's not a princess. I don't believe Samara is a princess. No, she's an orphan.
Okay.
Yeah,
Does he
she's an
say that
orphan.
she is a princess? You're right. So I was gonna say I
She
feel
is
like
a princess.
he maybe said she's a maiden, but no, she's a princess. And plus, Prince Charming wouldn't propose to an orphan.
No, not at all.
No.
Okay.
And
I
these
also
are
think the
glass
next book is
apples.
A Marriage of Convenience.
These are glass apples, not gold. So that's the difference, I guess.
Are these glass apples?
These ones are gold. He needs a golden apple. And then you said
Yeah.
that the title of the other one is glass, right?
No, apples dipped in gold.
Got it. Okay, never mind. I misread.
But yeah, he talks about his greatest desire. But first, before he even goes in, he needs to make sure it's not a trick. Are you tricking? And it pains Casimir to say no, it's not a trick. Pains him.
Mm-hmm.
Hit him where it hurt. But we learn, the prince says, while it is to be free if I do not return to my kingdom with a golden apple from a tree that grows in the depths of the glass mountains, I cannot marry my beloved. Talk about the most ridiculous dowry to require.
Yeah, it's a task of bravery, but
A task of bravery slash I don't think the king wants the prince to marry his daughter.
definitely not. He's like, oh, okay, this guy will die.
Yeah, he is counting on the fact the prince is not returning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny because he says, "Must you marry her?" And he says, "Of course. If I do not, she'll marry someone else."
How dare she marry someone that's not me? Then she must not love you if she marries somebody else. Of course she loves me. She is a princess and all princesses must marry.
Okay. Who
I
says?
mean,
Her father.
obviously the prince does, because he is trapped in this little fairy tale snow globe where the world revolves around him. He is the sun.
Dude, she totally already married someone else. Get over it.
She's
Move
honestly
on.
married. The second he didn't return in like a day, the king said he died and she moved on. She
Mm-hmm.
probably threw a party, let's be honest.
Yeah. She gone. Chill out. Find another maiden.
And then it's the whole, if he dies and she doesn't marry, then there's no king. Oh, so you want to be king. Like, Casimir's really just putting him through the ringer because
Cutting
he doesn't buy
cutting
the
through the
fact.
bullshit. He's cutting through all the bullshit. He goes, ah, okay, so you actually just want to be king. That makes sense.
And then he goes, so all the advice you've offered, he goes, I never lied. The prince goes, I never lied. You asked me how to make a maiden fall in love with you, not how to fall in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
You asked me how to make her fall in love with you, not the other
Which
way
he also
around.
doesn't know that anyway.
He also did not make Gisela fall in love with him. His
Mm-hmm.
advice was still bullshit.
Agreed.
Yikes.
Oh man.
And
And then
then,
he
so has she fallen for you? Would you be here if she had? The way Casimir just goes, do you think you'd still be fucking locked up if she loved me? Okay then. Shut your pie hole.
one of my favorite quotes is he asks, "How do you feel?" And Casimir says, "Insane." And he goes, "I think you were insane before her."
That's a read.
Says his coat room full of skins.
Not the coat room full of skins.
I really hope that he keeps Prince Charming's skin.
Okay, but hear me out. A Halloween color named Coat of Skins.
Okay.
Slightly morbid.
Okay.
We don't have to write it down. Only for Halloween. It can't be for anything else.
Limited time only. It has to be a color changer.
It has to be a nude color changer. We rebrand Sweet Burn.
Yeah, nude to red.
That's Sweet Burn. We just rebrand it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Limited edition sticker. I'm sorry. This is also, for anyone listening, I have had the most unhinged work day. I think there was that one point where I was being tackled by about like five-year-olds, and all I could do was just laugh. So I'm bringing the unhinged energy into this. I apologize in advance.
It's all good. What? Oh, I see. It's kind of crazy how the prince's chapters kind of skip around. Like, because now all
Yeah.
of a sudden he's with Demir again and Neve.
He is with Amir and Neve, and I got one of my favorite lines.
Okay. Go for it.
No, this is something I highlighted, and I still really do like this. And it says, "She makes me feel like I. It won't matter if I have a name or not. So long as I know her, I will know myself."
Uh-huh.
Come on, can you look at her and tell her that?
Exactly.
Not that like you're beautiful, you should be grateful I called you beautiful. Like if a guy would tell me this.
I also I love that he calls her a naughty little sprite.
That's naughty sprite, man.
You naughty little sprite. But yes, if he would just tell Gisela exactly those words, he would be fine.
I feel like that would have made something so much better.
Our man gets stage fright. It is what it is.
It
But I
is,
like how he's
not.
agonizing over this instead of like acting on it. But I do like the way that I can't remember if it's the Mir or Neve who says if you only have one day left, you should spend it the way you want to.
Which means we're on our last
And he
day.
wants to spend it with her.
I would spend it with her. With her, you frustrating thing. I would spend it with her.
You frustrating thing.
But then also the mirror's crying. There's a choked cry, and he looks at the mirror and goes, "Are you crying?" And the mirror goes, "I'm a mirror. I can't cry."
Because they really at this point feel like he's just gonna forget and we're
Well,
done.
I saw it differently.
Oh yeah?
I saw that scene, that moment, as he's finally had this breakthrough that they've been begging him to have. I think these are tears of joy. We're finally able to be hopeful. We've reached our hope.
I hope so. Ha.
I think this is when we're actually getting to a point where we've made it. We've broken through to him.
So it's like the Mir's proud. Like he's like,
He's proud.
oh my sweet Casimir.
I think he's proud, and it's finally one of those things that it's like, no, this will work out now, because Casimir's finally dropped the whole. It just has to be from her angle. He's finally accepting of his feelings
Right.
and kind of willing to work it through.
Right. And
So
he
what do we
said,
do?
we're gonna go on a
We
picnic.
go on a picnic.
Picnic. Oh,
Like
really,
any
really
great
naughty
love
picnic.
story, like any great love story, we fall in love over a picnic.
Yes, and it turns, but unlike most love stories, this turns into a very naughty picnic.
I mean, it was just missing a pool of
It,
starlight.
it turns into exhibitionism
I mean,
really fast.
has this whole book not been exhibitionism?
Well, yeah, I don't know. You kind of get the like feeling that they're like the only ones around, but seems like there's a
They've
lot of
done
like
it in the garden. They've
that's
done it
true.
in his room where a mirror was watching. And then they've done it on this picnic when we all know that there's Fae everywhere.
Yeah, true. True, true, true. And it
So
starts
she lays in bed,
yeah, it starts
fantasizing
with
over
all
the
the letters.
letters.
Yeah. Hmm.
Ugh. And we go on our picnic. But first, he comes in, and she is once again holding her axe. And he goes, "Are you preparing for battle?" And she goes, "I don't know. Are you coming to declare war? A war for your love, maybe.
Hmm. Uh-huh. Um,
Maybe less bloody, like a picnic."
yes. And she gets dressed, and I actually really like the description of her dress here. It reminds me of like a cottage dress, you know?
Cottagecore.
With the
It
like
does.
with the like the white dress or whatever that like ties in the front, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and like off the sleeve or whatever. Anyway, at least I think that's what it is. Airy gown, lace in the front. Yeah. Mhm.
Very
Mhm.
cottagecore, very flowy,
Yeah.
frolic in the leaves.
Uh-huh. Mhm. And then she says, "You have no basket, no blanket."
No, I thought we were going on a picnic. But we finally get him calling her beautiful and it going over well.
Mm-hmm.
We
Finally.
did it.
Mm-hmm.
He actually now putting the Princess of Voice to use and it working?
And she's actually starting in this moment to like change her view of whether or not the forest and magic is good or bad. So ever since her like sister and all this, she's always been so afraid of magic, of the
She's
forest,
been
of
against
fairies.
it.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden she says, "I never thought any part of the enchanted forest could be beautiful."
And I
And
think,
she's turning.
huh?
She's turning.
She is. And I think it has to deal with as her perspective of Casimir changes, so is her perspective of everything else. We really are seeing her come for I would say full circle, but it's more like a 180 because she's
Hmm.
just like completely opposite.
Hmm.
But we're getting that like her views were tainted because the people around her were tainted of them.
Yeah.
They did not like Faye. They did not like Elvin. They didn't like her because she was, however small a percentile Elvin.
Hmm.
And because everybody around me hates it, it's that negativity from your surrounding. You want to fit in. You're going to go with them on that negative.
Hmm.
And now it's I'm harboring this hate, but I'm slowly able to let it go as I heal because she is going through a healing.
Yep.
As I heal, as I kind of find peace within myself, figure out my little Fae Prince's name, which is something I also needed to heal. We'll get there soon. And fully be like, wait, life ain't that bad.
Mm-mm.
I might
And
have
she
gotten
could
into
see
the
herself
ring.
living there and liking it. Basically what she
Isn't
said.
that exciting?
Uh-huh. And I think it's funny, every time that there's a book with pictures, I always think to myself, I hate the way that authors depict elven like princes and stuff like that. Like or fae princes. I don't I'm not attracted to this. Are you? Because
He reminds me of Smeagol.
I don't get it.
Hot take, it's Smeagol with long black hair.
Yep. Yep. Or like a creepy dark Legolas.
He looks greasy.
Yeah. So it's always funny to me that like I get the whole like, they depict like fae and elves with like long hair and it's just, a little different or whatever, but I just never see this like when in an illustration. I never see it as attractive in the books. Like I'm like, "Oh." And then I just kind of ignore that.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah.
So anyway, they bangity bang bang bang
Bang, bang,
again.
bang, 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 bang.
Um And she starts to say that she will remind him afterwards when they're having their pillow talk. She's going to remind him of who he is.
Every day until you remember, I'll never remember. Will you remember me? I wish to never forget you. A wish. A wish.
And she gets really upset about the fact that he might forget her. That's like the biggest problem in her. She doesn't necessarily care about him forgetting himself, but she's like, "What? He's going to forget me? No, that's not okay." And she gets really upset about it.
But then we get probably like I think the saddest part of this book, in my opinion.
Hmm.
He goes, I would give you a letter, he said, but I fear I cannot recall my name. I frowned
Hmm.
and I lifted my head to look at him. It isn't time to forget. He smiled faintly. Perhaps I miscounted the days, he said in a sleepy voice, as he fell into an untroubled sleep. I lay awake, desperate for his name.
I know it's really sad. And it kind of like reminds me of like Alzheimer's a little. Like
Yeah.
it gives me that like, memories back from like my grandparents of like that type of thing. And it's
Mm-hmm.
funny because it's always the person who's forgetting that's at peace usually with it.
Yeah.
And
And it
everyone
was
around is panicked.
so at that point in the story, I had also looked at it and I'd seen, thank goodness for the book telling me how far along and I am in it. like, I'm 89% done. Because if I did not have that and I was just kind of flipping through the Kindle, the ebook, because I did not have physical book, I couldn't see how many pages were left. I'm just doing it digitally. I got so afraid during the reading that it was going to end the next chapter. I got so afraid that it was going to end because it's a fairy tale retelling. And a lot of fairy tales are notorious for there not being a happily ever after, for it just being a word of warning, and that this was going to end with them not figuring it out.
Yeah, that was always a possibility.
That did not sit well with me. But you know
And
what? We don't have to worry for too long.
I know, right? It just kind of like just like the mirror said, it just like comes to her.
And it does. So she's in his bed, pondering this riddle. She's going over and over it. You know his name, you have felt it. Turning it over. The letters. And she just stops and talks to the mirror, asking, you know, will he remember why he loved me? Asking all these questions because homegirl got to know. And like, I don't blame her, and it's one of those feelings that it's something similar to people who have had grandparents, parents, whoever, that go through Alzheimer's, go through dementia, and it's all like, are they going to remember this? Are they going to remember me? What are they going to forget? What can I help them with? It's very scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's hard. You have a bunch of these unanswerable questions. And she even goes, well, can I give him my name? Like, will that work? And she can't. I think he tells her no.
Well, he says that she can, but he says that would be power too. But in a different way. Like it wouldn't be the same, you know?
And
He's
I
not
wonder
gonna
if that would have affected her, because then she wouldn't have had a name.
Right. And maybe literally because like only a couple paragraphs down, she actually guesses his name. I wonder if the willingness to give him her name is what like unlocked it in her mind.
And drum roll, please. Do we get there? Well, we get there as she's throwing her throat. So I slow my thoughts, turn to the mirrors. Slowly, my thoughts return to the mirror's riddle, and I recall the times when I had wailed and howled and cried at my family's deaths. My grief has spanned mornings, and all I ever felt was agony. All I had ever felt was
Anguish.
Mic drop, curtain drop, roll call.
And she knows immediately that that's his name.
It had to be. There was not a doubt. But who comes rolling around the corner as she figures this out?
Fucking Prince Charming.
Motherfucker. And she goes, who are you? Who are you? I've never seen you. I've been in here for a week. Who are you?
And she doesn't trust him immediately. She's like, oh, I don't like mortals. She like knows she doesn't like mortals.
Immediately, he tells her his name. Nobody else here has given up a name so easily.
That's true.
But immediately he goes, I'm a prince, a mortal one. My name is Flynn. And then he bows, at your service.
You know, the name Flynn Rider, but he's not a prince.
No, he's not. He's a scoundrel.
Interesting.
He's a scoundrel. I'm checking things. But at your service.
I don't need.
But then he immediately asks her, are you the maiden the prince is in love with? Girl, if you don't run.
But also, like, this guy's stupid. Of course she's the maiden. You can tell he's
literally the only other person here.
Has to ask. I feel like that's the biggest thing, is like you can tell he's a human because he has to ask.
Yeah. But then not denying it, not like running from this stranger, not like calling for Casimir by his true name, mind you. Like, we could have done that too. Just, why are you here? And the prince is like, we're captives. You're a prisoner. I'm a prisoner. We should be on the same team.
And we learned that the reason he was leaning out the window earlier is because he was making a deal with fairies.
Mm-hmm.
Did you catch that when he was like Casimir's talking to him? He was like leaning out the window when he came to the cell and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Ah, nothing."
Nothing. Don't worry. But
Making a
also,
deal
like,
with fairies.
the most Prince Charming line ever. Don't be afraid. I will not hurt you. I'm here to rescue you.
I know. I do not need rescuing.
It looks to me like you do. First of
Mm-hmm.
all, rude.
Oh yeah, jerk. Just because I don't have my emotional support acts doesn't mean that I need rescuing.
And then the Fays quite literally are helping him because they are wrapping the vines and all around her.
Mm-hmm.
They are stopping her from calling for
Mm-hmm.
Casimir.
Mm-hmm.
And he probably tells you, the pixies told me. The pixies. The ones she
Oh, yeah,
threatened.
the pixies. Yeah,
Maybe if you didn't threaten the pixies.
she knew it was gonna bite her in the ass.
It's fine because she gets her revenge on them.
Mm-hmm.
And then take me to the glass mountain. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. The glass mountain.
Which it's funny because he's so like, what do you call it? So hesitant of her, and the way that she got to the glass mountain is super just like
Sketch.
weird. Yeah, sketch. Like drink this
Sketch.
water, you'll get really small. Whatever.
But then it's just like, but I'll know if you lead me astray. Like, I will know if you try to lie to me. Like, no, you won't.
You're
No,
a
you
moral.
won't. Call his bluff. Call his bluff, please.
Mm-hmm.
But no, so she takes him to the pond.
Mm-hmm. And she calls for Wolf, right? She has to call for him because that's the only
She
way.
does. She has to call for Wolf to help. Huh?
He calls her a harlot.
He does. And he literally says, now what, harlot? Ugh. Drink the water and I'll call for Wolf. Drink the water?
Mm-hmm.
Ew.
And then it's like he's like a wolf that flies, and they're like, and she's like, oh, just like it's like a thing, like just don't worry about it.
It's a thing. Just do what I'm telling you to do.
I don't want to explain the whole story.
But he also like makes her do it first because he does not trust her.
Yeah.
Does not trust her. He goes, you have to do it first.
Yeah. Which at that point is kind of annoying because now she's small and she can't really run away. But
Which
she should be
might
able
be
to
part
call
of it.
for Casimir at that point.
Yes, and I also think, yes, she's smaller, and unless he's like holding her, it might be easier for her to slip away. But it's like, you better not be lying. And then Wolf comes, and he goes, that's not a wolf.
He's frozen.
Again, we never said Wolf was a wolf. Just get on with it, dude.
Yeah. Get over it.
And then we learn that he's from the kingdom of Rook.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love how
tells
easy
her,
it is for him to just be gone.
Yeah.
Like, this was no big fight. The wolf just drops him from a great distance. Splat.
He quite literally just like, and you're gone. Which, like, come on.
Like, that was like the most, probably the hardest he's worked at anything, and it just completely did not pan out.
He tried so hard. He's like, you're gonna come with me. You're not getting out of this. Like, we're going together. And I was like, I want to see a fun chick. Boink.
Mm-hmm.
And
but then we have our happily ever after situation.
We're about there. We're there because he comes. He asks her if she's hurt, and she tells him that the prince is dead.
You know what's kind of annoying? There is no moment where she actually says his true name.
There's not.
It's just weird. It's kind of like frustrating as a reader. It's like getting all the way there and then all of a sudden there's no big like at the end of the Beauty and the Beast where like he gets in the air, turns into a man. Like there's no like
But we don't hear her say his name.
Yeah.
Which, annoying.
Mm-hmm.
However, we do finally see her tell him her name.
I know. Which is kind I know that was on purpose. Like her saying hers instead of like
Oops,
saying his
frozen
name,
again.
it had to have been a conscious choice. Like the saying her name
Yeah.
instead of it had to have been conscious for the writer. Like she chose to do that on purpose. So.
And it's one of those things that she obviously chose, yes. It's 100% intentional, but why?
I know.
Why are we looking and going, Casimir, my name is Gisela, or Gazella, or whatever. His eyes widen. Like, he is like, wait, you're trusting me with your name?
Mm-hmm.
And then she whispers his name before kissing him. And I feel like that's such like an anticlimactic end to a curse.
I know.
I'm complaining. This is our complaint episode. We didn't put the disclaimer in the beginning. We're doing it now.
Yeah, I'm like a little bit like, wait, what? Like that's why everyone's like, okay, and the book's over? Like what? And
And
then
we're done.
yeah, and my like favorite is the fact that she goes and basically kills everybody. But
Yes.
my favorite is actually her dress. I need to like, okay, dressed in a gown of thorn and shadow. Okay. On my head, I wore a crown of twigs and iridescent wings, a gift from Casimir. Well, he plucked the backs of the pixies. Whatever. Anyway, I didn't. It's interesting because she starts talking to the what's his name. She starts talk. Well, hold on, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but that's okay. We'll go back. She starts talking to the guy that she hates, Roland, and
Yeah.
she's alone on the horse, which I didn't realize at first. That
Uh-huh.
Cassidy is her gown. And then he changes into himself and he's like holding her boobs.
I had to reread it. I had to reread it just for the sake of just like, wait, why is this now a thing? But mind you, it was true the dress was indecent, exposing white strips of skin and thorn vines only covering my thighs and my breasts. But I loved it because it was a gift from Casimir.
It is Casimir.
But it is him.
And then suddenly he's on the horse behind her and he's like holding her as she kills everybody.
But that was also such a power play. Such a power play.
Uh-huh.
Because everyone's immediately like, wait, we thought you died.
Yeah, no,
Like,
but here I am.
It's only been like a week, but we thought you were dead.
And she actually does not kill the whole village. She kills like everyone who's ever been mean to her.
Isn't like everyone except Elise, or did Elise end up dying?
Elise
Elsie.
did not die.
Elsie's like the only one that didn't die.
Or Elsie,
She
yeah,
spared
she
her.
did not die. Let's see. You're wicked. Blah blah blah. The crowd dissipated. Elven prince. Silence. You asked.
Yes, who I was, and how you asked who I was. Now
Oh,
that
shards of glass rained down from the sky and speared Roland through the head, along with the mayor and every terrible townsperson who had treated me with contempt. Despite Elsie's participation, she remained unharmed.
Staring in horror as her husband bled at her feet. I'm sorry, that line.
But I want to go back a little bit. She returned Wolf to being a wolf.
Yes. That was like the first thing she did.
Mm-hmm.
She held true to her promise.
Mm-hmm.
Because, she discussed, like, what am I? Princess, she says, a princess would suffice. Princess Ella. It's what my sister would call me. Mm-hmm. So we're getting that nickname aspect. You can only have my true name, which is Gisela. Everyone else can call me Ella. Mm-hmm. Princess Ella it is. And then we get about Wolf. Wishes come with great consequences. That is not a consequence, that is a gift. Oh, and if the consequence means remaining at my side for the rest of our eternal life, she goes, that's not a consequence, it's a gift. I love you.
Oh, now we don't care
If you
about
had said that in
Matthew.
the beginning of the book, I would have murdered you.
Uh-huh. And then we also get a picture at the end of Casimir, which he makes me think of like K-pop.
Yes. He
He's
looks
very
less greasy in this one.
he's very K-poppy.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
That's probably the best he's looked in all the pictures.
Yeah, but he still looks like K-pop. So there's that. And that's the end.
Which,
Go ahead.
I'm going to pull out one more thing. Anguish of Thorn. Name of where he's the prince of. Anguish of Thorn. So powerful. But that's the end. Yeah. Any final thoughts, conspiracies, hopes, dreams?
I think we kind of covered them. I mean, I'm really excited about her sister. I definitely think she has more to play. I still think that there's something to do with the fact the croon or the crone or whatever. I think that there's something to do with the frog still. And I'm wondering how many years it's gonna take. Like, are we gonna be way in the future when these two get reborn or what?
Yeah. I think I'm on the same boat. I am hoping, and I was talking to Callie about this. Shout out to Callie, who also said at some point she also wants to come and join us with this lovely podcast, which I'm team. Game, let's go. I strongly hope that not only do we get a book for every brother, but then we get one last book to close it all out, to tell us how they're all connecting, what's happening with this mirror, because you're gonna know we want to know.
Who the hell are the mountains? Are they
Who
sentient
the hell
or
are the
not?
mountains? Are we going to hear more about the mountains, or were the mountains just exclusive to this little rendezvous? Who knows? But for everyone interested, Apples Dipped in Gold did just come out on the 16th.
Yay.
So go pull it if you want to.
I probably will immediately.
I will.
Especially
I will be
now
reading
that
it.
I got into like my reading for the next book already, so I have a little bit of a respite, so I probably will.
I'm just going to probably knock it out in one night like I did this one and then go back to the other book.
Perfect.
But you know.
But that's all the theories I have. I mean, I'm curious to know what other theories people have for next books or whatever, what they're hoping to see more of, what they think might pop up.
Yeah, and I guess for anyone who wants to interact with the video on YouTube, what were your favorite parts of the book? What did the ending meet your expectations? Are you happy? Are you sad? Or are you just like, yeah, it's a typical fairy tale ending?
Mm-hmm.
And how are you enjoying book club so far?
Uh-huh.
Because I'm living.
I know. It's very, very interesting, and it's a little bit challenging in ways that I didn't expect it to be, but it's good. Fantastic.
Life's good with a challenge.
Yeah, that's right.
We need it.
All right, and so until next time.
Until next time with a new book.
Uh-huh. Very excited.
Yay.
And